Welcome back to another episode of Timeout with Makali. I'm your host, Makali Pennycook, and I'm here and I'm hyped up to kick off Season 2. We are back for the summer. Let's go. The NBA Finals right now is absolutely wild. We are 5 games in, and it's been a phenomenal series. Hopefully, we can keep going this series. Hopefully, we can go to 7 games, because I would love to see a 7-game series in the NBA Finals. We are in the middle of the about to be entering the NBA jam-packed offseason with Kevin Durant. Trade rumors are heating up right now with Kevin Durant on the move. We also had Desmond Bane. He is heading to Orlando. We'll talk about that trade. And what are the Knicks doing? They seem to have no direction, no plan, no care whatsoever after firing their best head coach in the last 20. Plus, on one of our final topics, we'll be talking about the Sixers. What's their plan for the NBA draft? Who are they going to pick? And we'll also be talking about the shocking trade of Rafael Devers going from the Boston Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. And we conclude the show with a top 5 of the week. Alrighty. So we are back here for Season 2. I'm so glad to be bringing you guys this episode. I'm so glad to be back in action. I felt like, taking that break a little bit, it was a tough couple of months for sure, definitely. But I'm just so glad to be back talking about sports. I love sports. It's my passion, talking about sports, giving my takes, whether it's hot or cold, whether you think I'm right or wrong. I love bringing the content whatsoever. Talking about our first topic and segment we're talking about is the NBA Finals. The Pacers and the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder have been a phenomenal series so far, in my opinion. A lot of people wrote off this series thinking that, it wouldn't be that great. The markets aren't really, it's 2 small market teams in NBA Finals. It's not going to provide that much juice and whatnot. I feel like every game has been, worth watching and entertaining, especially game 1, especially game 3, especially really game 4, and game 5 last night was really a really good game to watch. I think, with watching this series, I just couldn't help but rooting for the Indiana Pacers the entirety of the postseason, in my opinion. They've been kind of that Cinderella team, writing everybody off and finishing their story. Would be so cool to see them win a championship. A lot of people doubted them in majority of their series besides Milwaukee. I think I was one of the few people that picked them in the Milwaukee series, but Cleveland, they were doubted. New York, they were doubted. This series, they're doubted. And they just constantly prove that they've belonged, and they've constantly been shocking a lot of people and a lot of people in the internet with, their ridiculous comebacks. And OKC, they're a juggernaut defensively. It's like, I don't know how you're able to, score on this team defensively. I would say pretty much at home. I think they're more of a home team than they are a road team. You could see the difference of how good they are when they play at home and when they play on the road. Like, just take a look at their home record opposed to their road record in these playoffs. Tells you everything. I'm just saying. But I think the Pacers really had their shot to win a championship in game 4, because they won game 3, which was huge, right? Like, Brandon Mathurin had like 27 points off the bench. T.J. McConnell was like the first player in NBA Finals history to have 10 points, 5 assists, and 5 steals. He had like 5 steals off inbound passes. Ridiculous. I just think that, in game 4, they had control of the majority of the game besides the fourth quarter. I think that quarter is going to really hurt them for when they look back on this series, win or lose. Game 4 is, I think, whether they lost the series. I just, Mathurin with his missed free throws, Miles Turner couldn't grab rebounds. They couldn't grab rebounds, dumb fouls, poor offense down the stretch. Just let OKC come back and win it. Not really come back, but that was a game that they were supposed to win. Like, OKC had 10 assists the entire game. 10 assists, and they only made 3 threes. Should have won that game. It's a game where you have to win. I think if The Pacers just closed that game, man. They'd have been up 3-1. And you know, OKC was going to win game 5. You knew they were going to win a game 5. And you'd have been up 3-2. It's gotta suck. I think game 4 is really game 4 is going to really haunt them for this series. Now, look, they can go back to Indiana in game 6 and absolutely win that. I think they're going to win that because you want to defend home court. And you're going to have to go back to OKC for game 7. In that environment, seeking for a first championship, it's going to be tough. But game 5, especially game 5, was all about, OKC, except for the last quarter, obviously. Well, middle of the third. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, 40 points. He had 40 points last night. 40. It was ridiculously efficient 40 points, too. And he's their number 2 option, man. I mean, he's been balling this entire series, especially these last 3 games. He's been averaging 30. The last 3 games, game 3, 4, and 5, he's been averaging 30 points. It's been a marvelous series for Jalen Williams, especially game 5, he helped them win this. He helped them win the game. And he was the reason why they won the game, being the number 2 guy, being the number 1 option down the stretch. And he was hitting some tough, ridiculous shots. And you gotta be elated for the guy. He's been there he's been through this rebuild, but the past 3 years, he's ascended into an all-star 2-way elite player. He was an all-star this season. He was an all-NBA player, and he was an all-defensive team. So, he's been balling. And I said if OKC is if they're going to win this series, they're going to need J-Dub to play well. And he has been. He's been answering the call every game. Well, the past 3 games. So, yeah. And then SGA. This dude he's unreal, man. It's like when you watch SGA, I don't know what to think. It's like impossible to defend him. I'm not trying to be negative because if I say it's impossible to defend him, it's a foul. He's just elite at creating fouls. I don't know how he does it. I don't. But he's elite at creating fouls. He's elite at getting to the rim. He's elite at his mid-range. He's a mid-range assassin, and he gets to the rim. It's just with ease. I literally, when you watch him play, once he gets that separation at that elbow, it's cash. It's cash. I'm telling you, it's literally once he creates separation at that elbow, it's cash. He had 31 last night and 10 assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks. He's the first player, it says it right here, he's the first player in NBA Finals history to have that stat line. So he basically had an elite 2-way performance. He had an elite 2-way performance, something that you just don't see often in the NBA. And I'm telling you right now, if SGA can complete this season, if he can complete this ring, he wins a championship for the first time in OKC history. This season will be the greatest season we have ever seen a point guard play. I challenge somebody to find me a better season. He averaged 33 points. He led the league in scoring. He won an MVP. He was an all-star, all-NBA first team, MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, led his team to 68 wins, best record in the NBA. And then if he gets a Finals MVP and a championship, where does that rank? Where does his season rank? Not to mention, he has scored the most points by a player in postseason history. His run is incredible. I'm telling you, it's like he can get 30 points without sneezing. It's easy for him. I don't know how he does it, but he's that good. I'm telling you. If he completes this ring in this season, it'll be the greatest point guard season we have ever seen from a point guard. I challenge anybody to find me a better season than that. You could say, oh, well, Steph Curry, and you don't know, Makali, 2016 Steph Curry. Steph didn't win first of all, Steph, that season to me, I only view that season as him choking the 3-1 lead and him crumbling in games 6 and 7. He crumbled. SGA hasn't crumbled yet, bro. Maybe the only bad performance he's had in this series was game 4. His game score across the entire finals has been plus 20. A lot of people I saw on Twitter like give J Dub the Finals MVP after 4. No, dude, no. SGA is averaging 32 points a game in the finals. 32 on ridiculously efficiency, bro. I think he's just having one of the greatest point guard seasons we've ever seen. Not the greatest. And first of all, especially talking about game 4. This is my issue with the Pacers. This is my exact issue. Rick Carlisle, the Pacers put in their second unit in the third quarter. They had TJ McConnell running point because, Tyrese was really bad. I'm a huge, let me say this. I'm a huge Tyrese Halliburton defender. I think he's becoming one of my favorite players in the league, honestly, because I love his swagger and I love, his clutch shots and the Route 40. I love how he doesn't get shaken up by anything. He's just there for the moment. He's always there. And I love his swagger and whatnot. But there was no, and I'm a huge Halliburton defender, but there was no defending him last night, unfortunately. 0 for 6 it's just bad. Not only did he take 6 shots, he missed all of them. He was hurt. He was clearly hurt, but it's like the only excuse you can really get was he was hurt. But he continued to play the rest of the game. He was playing the rest of the game. But man, it sucks because I'm a huge Halliburton. I can't defend. He was getting destroyed last night on Twitter. Destroyed. You thought anything you saw on the TV today was not as bad as last night on NBA Twitter. He was getting absolutely destroyed. But, if I say this to people saying, I've never understood why he was in the superstar talks after his performance last night. So if you don't view him as a superstar, why are you holding him to superstar? Why are you holding him to a superstar? If you don't view him as a superstar, why are you holding him to superstar requirements and whatnot? Oh my God, he only scored 4 points. He's a role player. He's not even the best point guard on his team. He's barely the second best player on his team. Why are you holding him to that standard if you don't think you can't have it both ways, in my opinion. You can't say he's not a superstar and then hold him to superstar regards. You just can't do that. I'm sorry, you can't. He's either, in your opinion, he's a superstar or he's not. If you don't think he's a superstar, you think he's a role player, then 4 points, seven rebounds, and 6 assists is not bad for a role player. You can't hold him to that. You can't hold him to that. If you're gonna say he's not a superstar, then you can't hold him to that standard. You just can't do it. But going back to what I said, it was TJ McConnell was going absolutely crazy in the third quarter. First of all, he finished the game with 18 points. He literally led the Pacers to having a chance of a comeback and winning that game in the third quarter. And ones, layups, he was feasting. He was feasting. So why did Rick Carlisle not continue to play him? What was the reason? And the same thing in the fourth quarter, Pascal Siakam is your guy right now. The guy is cooking. He's scoring. He's the only player right now offensively that is giving you something. Nobody else is doing it besides Pascal. And Pascal has multiple 20-point games in this series. So why are you taking him out? Why is Rick Carlisle taking him out with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? Why? What's the reason? Fresh body, you have to ride the hot hand. Continue to feed him the rock. So why was TJ McConnell on the bench in the fourth quarter and Andrew Nembhard was in the game? Andrew Nembhard had 4 turnovers. It was the worst game he played all series. Turnover. It wasn't I promise you, if you watch the game, it wasn't like OKC was doing anything to force these turnovers. He was literally giving them the basketball. He was giving away the basketball like he was on a campaign trail. Here you go. The worst one was when maybe the Casey Wallace one is justifiable because, Tyrese went left and he thought Tyrese would stay. But there were some other ones where he was trying to do a skip pass right to SGA. It's like, what are you doing? The same Benedict Mathurin's under the basket. Got lazy overhand pass. Why is he in the game and TJ McConnell is out the game when he led you in the sparks of the comeback? Why? Are you, because you would have been, so your reason would have been, Andrew Nembhard's defense on SGA was, the reason why he was still out there. Yeah, Nembhard has been the best defender on SGA. I agree, but SGA wasn't the one killing you that night. It was Jalen Williams. And the Pacers have had zero answers for him. It was Jalen Williams. So I don't understand. Because TJ McConnell's obviously a smaller defender on SGA, but SGA wasn't the issue last night. That was Jalen Williams. I just don't understand it. So why you could have ran a lineup with Tyrese, Tyrese, Nesmith, Pascal, and Turner for that fourth quarter. You could have. Or you could have put Obi Top in there and run a smaller lineup. Like, why? What was you could have? Or you could have had Nesmith guarding SJ, but you leave TJ guarding a bigger guy. I understand that, but come on. It just that decision didn't make any sense. And the same thing with Game 4. Pascal has 22 points. Why is he being taken out so early in the fourth quarter? Feed the hot hand. Feed the hot hand. Feed the hot hand. Come on. Gosh. It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. All right. Moving on to the next segment. Talking about Kevin Durant, his trade rumors right now are heating up. Absolutely. The trade literally might happen as I'm recording this right now. I could come back to my phone and it says Kevin Durant traded. So he's reportedly, it's reported that he's going to get traded. The Suns, new GM, Brian Gregory is the new GM. So his first move as a GM is, making this big splashing deal. Though they do realize that the haul is not going to be as anticipated as they want it to be, as they hope it to be. The deal isn't the haul that they're going to get back isn't what they think they're going to get back. Is what I'm trying to say. And KD's preferred teams, the preferred teams that he wants to go to, is Houston, San Antonio, and Miami. I don't understand why he wants to go to Miami. I don't really know what he sees there. I think they're not a very good team right now. Maybe pairing up with Hero, Bam and their trash ass role players I don't know. I really don't know how to justify the Heat thing because he won't win in Miami. But Houston and San Antonio, that makes sense. His number one team in the recent reports, he wants to go to San Antonio. And if he goes to San Antonio, that would be a dangerous squad, man. Oh, my Lord. So you would have Castle, Fox, KD, and Wemby. That's a ridiculous lineup. I can't lie. They would contend. The next following season. The issue right now with the trade, apparently the Timberwolves have been in a prime sweepstakes of this deal. And KD said he doesn't want to go to Minnesota. He said he has no desire playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves have the strongest offer right now. Apparently the Suns, Brian Gregory and the Suns team, they want him to reconsider the deal because it's the strongest offer that they have. Apparently the Spurs and Rockets and the Heat and all these other teams have been giving up weak offers. And I think the Suns are going to have to realize that his value is not going to be that strong as what they thought it was going to be. The guy's 30, he's about to be 37 and expiring contract. You're getting essentially a 1 year, you're getting a 1 year rental, in my opinion. You're not going to get a very strong offer. I don't know. I don't think that they're thinking what they thought they were going to get. I mean, Minnesota, what would they really give up? It's just, what would they give up? The issue with San Antonio, the question should be with San Antonio and Houston is, do you want to give up your young talent for potentially a 1 year rental with KD? Because the Spurs, I would imagine you would give up Devin Vassell, Jeremy Schoen, and Keldon Johnson and probably a few first round draft picks because the Suns don't have a lot of capital. And potentially the Suns may want the number 2 overall draft pick. That could happen in a deal. Do I see that happening? No. Because I don't think KD's value is that as high as a number 2 overall draft pick. but the Suns could want that number 2 overall draft pick, and it wouldn't make sense if the Suns trade the Spurs trade that number 2 overall pick. For the Rockets, I would imagine something like Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, maybe Jabari Smith. But apparently the rumors and the reports are saying the offers, they don't really want to give up their young, valuable assets for KD. They don't think his value is there anymore. It makes sense. The guy's getting older, but he's still a bucket, though. The guy can still give you 26 to 27, 28 points per game. That's just a fact. That's a fact. But it just really proves how screwed the Suns' franchise is right now and the point where they're at. They fired, I think this is about to be, I think Jordan Ott is now the new head coach. They're on their I may be wrong with his name, but I think his name is Jordan. They're on their 4th head coach in 4 years. And they owe all of the money. They owe Frank Vogel money, they owe Monty Williams money, and they owe Mike Budenholzer money. All of them. The new owner, Matt Ishiba, just really did not come in here with the right vision in trying to get rid of his young talent and his assets for KD to win a championship. And same with Bradley Beal, who sucks now. And people thought that he was really good because he was scoring 34 points on a Wizards team. So, anyways, they thought that was the solution, and it wasn't. And now they have no draft capital, but they're trying to get it back. I think that's why they want to take the Timberwolves deal, because they have the capital to help them in the future, and these other deals don't. And KD has expressed he has no desire to play in Minnesota. So we shall see. The trade is going to happen very, very soon. I think the trade could happen definitely before the draft. So we shall see. I predict what team I predict him to go to. I think Houston was trying to get him last year. So I would not be surprised if Houston ends up making this deal. Would not be surprised also if Minnesota also ends up making this deal. And we're moving on to the next segment. The first offseason trade with a player was Desmond Bane, on Sunday, going from the Grizzlies trading him to the Orlando Magic. The Magic gave up KCP, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first for a pick swap that includes this year's 16th overall draft pick, and Ja and Desmond Bane. They were the second seed in 2022. They were back-to-back second seeds. So their young talent and their core was there. I just think Ja's injuries and obviously his suspensions, really went 8 steps back from where they wanted to really go. And now, they don't get me wrong, they have some talent, but I think this is both win-win trades. Obviously, Orlando, they need offense and they need shooting. I think really they needed a point guard more than they did needing a shooting guard. But Bane is a very good shooter, in my opinion. I think they need to they need a true point guard. And I've been saying it for a couple of years now. I think Trae Young should want to get traded to Orlando. I think if he goes to Orlando, I think that team would really take off. They could be the next Indiana Pacers on the rise. But I think Desmond Bane is also a good player. He's a very good two-way player. He's a great shooter. Obviously, he could score, volume shooter. The Grizzlies, they got back. KCP is a very good veteran two-way player as well. Cole Anthony, I think, is really good. I think Cole Anthony is a really good player, man. I think he was a really, really good player, and he was balling to end the season. Off the bench for the Magic last season. So, and not to mention, the Grizzlies get, the Magic's this upcoming draft pick, and they get the Suns' 2026 first-round draft pick. So that's a win, because the Suns are going to be trash. Tell me right now. Next season, the Suns are not going to be good. So that could potentially be a lottery pick. So that's a win-win. And honestly, it's kind of crazy how Desmond Bane was worth four unprotected first-round draft picks. He's worth 4 first-round draft picks. Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that, the Makali Bridges trade kind of ruined that market, and it maybe did with the draft picks, because I don't think Desmond Bane is worth more than 2 first-round draft picks. But here we are. The guy has never been an all-star. He probably won't be an all-star in his career. But I think this division, the Magic wanted to say, hey, we think our team is next up. And they are. Because Desmond Bane is going to fit, very nice around Paolo and France and that team and that core. Because they need shooting, man. They need somebody. I think they really need more of a point guard. But hey, I'm not. These guys are making decisions. I'm clearly not. So we're just gonna have to wait. We're just gonna have to wait and see, obviously. But I think the Magic are gonna. They want to contend because the East is open. The East is wide open. After the Celtics, lost to the Knicks and they don't have JT and they're gonna make some trades, obviously, and Jaylen Brown's knee surgery. The East is wide open. It's wide open. It really is wide open. So we just got to wait and see. Moving on to the next segment. The New York Knickerbockers. Man, I've been waiting to talk about the New York Knicks. I am most definitely a New York Knicks hater. If the New York Knicks have zero haters, I must be dead. I must be dead, locked. I must be I must be locked up, and then I have to be dead. Because not only did they lose, they built their team to beat the Celtics. And then they lost to the Indiana Pacers, their rival, for back-to-back seasons. The Pacers own the Knicks now. Not only did they lose, then they fire their head coach prematurely after the head coach brought the New York Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. They said, to hell with you, Tibbs. We don't think you're good enough to win a championship, even though you helped us have the best season that the New York Knicks have had in 25 years. James Dolan and I forget his name. Leon Rose. James Dolan and Leon Rose said, pack your bags. Get your ass out of here. We don't think you're good enough to get us to a championship. And boy, did they not have a plan, because they fired his ass like 3 days after the season. After the season just ended. After they just lost. They said, Tibbs, you're gone, bro. You're gone. With no plan. With no plan. First of all, Leon Rose giving that press release was a bunch of junk. Why aren't you talking to the press, first of all? He said the justified reason is we want to win a championship, and we don't think that they didn't think that Tibbs was good enough to coach them to a championship. I mean, undoubtedly, I think obviously the same. I don't think Tibbs is a good enough coach to win your championship. I don't either. But having the guy's resume, he kind of brought back the Knicks to relevance. Since he took over the Knicks were brought back to relevance. Brought them back to the playoffs. Got them a playoff series win. Then took them to the Eastern Conference Finals, the first time in 25 years. Why did they fire him? Why? I don't know. I really don't know. I understand, some of, he doesn't really use his bench, and that is his fault. Yeah, he's a very stubborn coach. He doesn't utilize his bench and whatnot. But I'm just thinking, Cat was defensively, he's a defensive head coach. And Cat is not a defensive player. I think he has lazy feet. His feet, and he's slow and unathletic. And if he's not there and defensively, if his feet aren't set where it needs to be defensively, he's going to foul. Jalen Brunson, cone on defense. Also, sloppy with his hands. He fouls. And in the playoffs, brother was in foul trouble damn near every game. In the Boston game, game 5, did you know he picked up 5 fouls in 1 quarter? 5 fouls in 1 quarter. So I don't know. I think Tibbs deserved 1 more season after they thought that after this season, because the dude just had the best season in 25 years for the Knicks. And you're just going to fire him? That's crazy. And not only that, they have no plan. They have no plan, y'all. They have no plan. Because they thought, okay, so after we fired him, let's just go requesting interviews for franchise head coaches. Hey, email Udoka for the Houston Rockets. How about you want to come? Let's call up the Houston Rockets. Can we know Ime is your franchise head coach. He's building up a culture and a system and everything. Has a great young squad. Just brought them to the 2nd seed. First time in the playoffs in years. Hey, can we request Ime for a head coaching job? No. Get out of my face. No. Chris Finch, Mr. Minnesota Timberwolves. We know you just took the Timberwolves to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Could we request Chris Finch to be interviewed for the New York Knicks head job, coaching job? Get out of my face. Click. Jason Kidd, brother. You just took your team to the NBA Finals last season, and you're about to get Cooper Flagg, number one overall draft pick. Can we put in a request to interview Jason Kidd? Nope. Why? So the Knicks, they fired Tibbs, and they tried going swinging for the fences, and they struck out on all three. It's like, it's so insulting. It would be so insulting. It's imagine like you were just with your girlfriend. You're with your girlfriend. Y'all are at a party or something, or a club or a bar or whatever. And some dude who is single, doesn't have a girlfriend at all, sees that you two are happily dating or married or whatever. He comes up to you and says, look, man, I know that you guys are clearly in love together, and I see that you guys are really happy. But do you mind if I try and get her number and try and have what you have with her? Do you mind if I come and put that request in? That's what the Knicks are doing. So clearly they have no plan at all. Not to mention they tried going after Quinn Snyder. Trae Young said, hell nah. Quinn Snyder? Really? That's what we're resorting to? Quinn Snyder? He's a great coach. But really? Then they went after Billy Donovan. Even the Bulls said no. You went after two mediocre teams. Even they said no. So now the Knicks, thinking that they would get a head coach who has experience, who has championship experience, and to someone who's going to win the playoffs with this roster, they can't even get that. They can't even get their vision anymore. They have to settle for somebody. They have to settle for Mike Brown, who has never won a playoff series before, and got out-coached by his former team and Steve Kerr. They have to go after guys like the former Grizzlies head coach, Taylor Jenkins, the guy who was fired right before the playoffs, having a winning record. They have to interview. I don't know if they've interviewed Michael Malone, but those are the two that they've requested to interview. Two guys who have never made any deep playoff runs. Two head coaches that got fired in the middle of their seasons. That's who we're resorting to now. See, this is what we call being premature, doing something before we think. And I couldn't enjoy it more, because the New York Knicks are never, and I mean they are not going to win a championship in the next 5 years, 10 years. Damn it, I'm gonna even say 15 years. It's not gonna happen. It will not happen with this core at all. Did you know that their supposed core that was supposed to take to the finals was the worst plus minus negative? The lineup with JB, Bridges, OG, Josh Hart, and Cat was the worst lineup in the playoffs. Plus minus wise. Statistically, they were the worst lineup in the playoffs. So they can't even play together. They have to settle for some coach who has no championship head coaching experience. Two coaches who they just interviewed who got fired in the middle of their seasons. They have no idea what they're doing. And it's funny. To me, it really is funny. I'm sorry. It really is, because I absolutely enjoy it. This fan base celebrated a second round win like they just won the NBA Finals, and they got packed up by the Pacers. They're liable for back-to-back seasons. A lot of people say, "Oh well, we were injured last season." What's the excuse this year? What's the excuse? I think someone say, "Oh, we were out conditioned." No, first of all, that's a terrible excuse. You're an NBA basketball team saying you were out conditioned. No, you just got outplayed, out coached, outsmarted, outplayed, everything. Don't give me that excuse. Okay, I couldn't be laughing more. Moving on to the next segment, the Sixers draft. My Philadelphia 76ers. What is their draft plan for the number 3 overall pick? A lot of the fan base is going back and forth between VJ Edgecombe and Ace Bailey. Ace is supposed to be presumptively the 3rd overall draft pick, right behind Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg. Who should the Sixers take? Who I think the Sixers should take? Look, If I were Daryl Morey and the Sixers, I would obviously do my due diligence with all the players and who you think is truly the best pick at 3. Now, who do I want? Obviously, I want Ace Bailey. Obviously, I would want him. You know, he's a full. In my opinion, the Sixers need. Obviously, they have Tyrese and McCain. They need somebody as a forward who's going to be with the team for a long time to come. For a long time coming. I truly believe it because you have 2 Asian players right now with Paul George, who's 34, and you gave a max contract to last season. That was a bit of a rice dollar, and the dice have not turned out to what you want to be. One is the first season, just the first season, and he was injured most of the season. Joel, you gave a max contract extension after you knew his knee was completely toast and just falling off. I don't know why they did that, but needless to say, they both got surgeries. They both need to be healthy. Now, I do think the Sixers need a long-term forward for the future. I don't think Paul George at 34 with a max contract is the answer. I really don't think so. I think Ace's ceiling is it's like all-star, superstar potential. Because if you can develop this guy the right way, like as a 6'8", 6'9", lanky, tall, athletic forward, man, that guy could be like literally the next KD. And you see a lot of the players in the NBA have raved about him. Like obviously PG and KD and Steph. You have to, if you're going to draft him, you have to develop him the right way. Because a lot of people are calling him, oh, he's the next Kyle Kuzma, he's the next Brandon Ingram. Those guys were not developed the right way. I think you have to have a developmental plan. Obviously, he has a high floor. Yeah, he does. But you would have to, develop him the right way. You have to develop him the right way. If you pair him along with Maxey, McCain, and Ace, that's a good core for the next 10 years. I'm telling you, try to develop him the right way. Obviously, he needs to work on his decision making. He needs to work on it and a little bit of his handle. I agree with all that. But I don't really see with VJ Edgecombe. I mean, he's a good player. I'm not saying that. But I don't know. A lot of Sixers fans have been raving about his athleticism and his defense. But what are you going to do with 4 guards? A lot of people have been giving me, guard rotation has been essentially, useful. And it's becoming the new thing now with the NBA. You see the Thunder are doing it. Well, that's because the Thunder's guard rotation is like significantly better than the Sixers guard rotation. Like the Thunder have probably the best defensive guard rotation in the league with SGA, Cason Wallace, Caruso, and Lou Dort. That is easily like that's the best defensive guard rotation. If you have a guard rotation of Maxey, McCain, Grimes, and VJ Edgecombe, that's literally nowhere near OKC's guard rotation. I'm telling you that right now. So I don't know what, and especially like Daryl Morey is so obsessed with guards. And Daryl Morey, like I said with Daryl Morey, his obsession with guards just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, recently his draft picks, he has taken guards, Maxey, McCain, and most likely VJ Edgecombe. I think if Daryl Morey doesn't nail this third overall draft pick, his ass is getting fired. I don't care. It's long overdue. Since he has taken over this job as the Sixers president of basketball operations, he's done absolutely nothing. He has done absolutely nothing. Other than the James Harden trade that he made with Brooklyn, good trade. You fleeced them. You gave away Ben Simmons and Seth Curry for James Harden. I commend you on that. I really do. But the tampering for the free agency, tampering for Daniel House and PJ Tucker, really? You couldn't wait until 7 o'clock to get Daniel House and PJ Tucker? Really? Offering, first of all, having a backdoor handshake deal, a max contract backdoor handshake deal with James Harden promising him he'd get that contract, and then taking away that promise, and then him alienating you in the press saying you're a liar and all this stuff, and then you trade him to the Clippers and the return you got back was trash, other than a few pick swap draft picks. That trade was trash. It was trash. Giving Paul George a massive contract extension at his age as your forward, as your wing, trash. The roster continuing to add free agents, guys like Kyle Lowry, who's 40, Eric Gordon, who's like 38. Why? This is not 2016 anymore. Live in the present day era. The Sixers are like, his vision and his goal is like 8 years back from where the NBA is now. The Sixers are literally 8 years back from where the NBA is now. Did you know that their roster last year was the oldest roster in the NBA? They were the oldest team in the league last year. So they try to do this big three with Maxey, PG, and it don't work no more. It don't work no more. Stop filling out roster guys with like Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, and Kyle Lowry off your bench. No. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, bro. And you try going after role player and Caleb Martin, and then you trade him away. I mean, you got Grimes back. I commend you in that. Getting Quentin Grimes was probably the biggest surprise of the season. Him averaging like 23 points to end in the second half of the season. That was great. I think he'll average 23 in next season? No. I think he'll be a great player. And the guard rotation, you hope to re-sign him. I hope they do re-sign him. I would be surprised if they don't re-sign him. Because he gave you some. I mean, I know he was the number one option on a terrible team, but I think, he hasn't been that good. And especially the last two seasons, he hasn't been that good. I just cannot have my wing forward player be awful. I cannot have my forward wing player score 4 points. 0 points. 4 and 0 points in an NBA playoff game. I can't do it. Tobias Harris scored 0 points in an NBA playoff game, in a closeout game, elimination game. He scored 0 points. I would rather have Ace Bailey chuck up 20 shots than have a starting wing forward who's making $30 million have you 0 points and then try and clown us on Twitter. No, I can't do that. Maury's been terrible. I think if this draft pick, if he doesn't get this draft pick right, and he thinks that VJ Edgecombe's a win now player to help them win next season, they better win 45 plus games next year. They better win 45 plus games. He should have really gotten fired this past season. I think that the Sixers should clean house, man. I really do. Clean house from him down to the damn assistant head coach, to the damn trainers. Get rid of all of them. Get rid of them. Elton Brand, Daryl Morey, Nick Nurse. I mean, it hurts because you have an owner who doesn't give a shit anymore. Josh Harris does not care about the Sixers anymore. He cares about the Commanders. He does not care about the Sixers anymore. Get rid of Morey. Get rid of Elton Brand. Get rid of Nick Nurse to the damn trainer. I don't care. Get rid of them. Because if they do not this draft, if they don't get this draft pick right, and if they don't win 45 plus games next season, because the team will be healthy. You hope they fill out the roster better with younger talent. If they don't get this draft pick right and they don't fill out the roster right next season, if they don't win more than 45 games, his ass is gone. Same with Nick Nurse. All of them, bro. All of them are gone. Get rid of them all. Find somebody with a vision. Find somebody with a right vision. Find somebody like Daryl Morey is living in the past 2 years. This dude has been living in 16. He's been living like it's 2018. It's not, bro. You're not going to have a good team with the big three mindset and the oldest team in the league. It's not going to work. It just ain't going to happen. It's not. Moving on to the next segment. The final segment of the show, this episode. The ridiculous, shocking trade on Sunday afternoon, evening, when Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox, third baseman, got traded to the San Francisco Giants for literally chump change. He got traded for basically nothing. They got traded for Kyle Harrison, the southpaw pitcher, who is going to be in AAA because it isn't good enough to be in the minors, and Jordan Hicks, who has a 6.47 ERA, who's also a starter, and has a 1.47 WHIP. That's what the Red Sox got in return for Rafael Devers, an all-star third baseman who was one of the best hitters in the AL, in my opinion. I think he's one of the best hitters in the AL. I think why did Boston do this? I think it's because Devers. I think there was issues with the management. because the Red Sox brought in Alex Bregman to be the third baseman of the team. And he's been the third baseman for the past like 7 years, 8 years. But the thing is, he's a very good hitter. It's just he's not a very good defender, right? So they want Bregman is not as good a hitter as Rafael Devers, clearly, but he's a very good. He's a Gold Glover. He's a Gold Glover at third base, and they wanted to move Devers to DH, right? And then when Tristan Casas got hurt, when he like hurt his knee, they wanted him to move to first base, and he said no. Well, at first he didn't want to move from third base to DH, and it was like a whole standoff for like a while. And then they told him he had to play first base because Tristan Casas got hurt, and he said no to that too. So I think it was already. I think the bridges were already burned. The set had already shipped. I think it was new man. I think this is new management. The GM, I forget his name. But it was the relationship was fractured, and there was no turning back. There was reports how David Ortiz tried to mentor him in becoming that next Red Sox great. I think Rafi was a really good Red Sox. I really do. They gave him an extension like 2 years ago, like a 10-year contract extension. So I don't know. I think it was the bridges were the relationship fractured for sure. It fractured, and this is why they made the trade. Now a lot of people have been talking about, well, the Red Sox have made these questionable trades. Have they traded their franchise players for literal chump change? I mean, the whole Mookie Betts trade, but that was everybody knew he was going to trade at that time. We didn't know Devers was going to be on the trade block. There's reports that he did not even the Red Sox didn't even shop around. They just said, "Hey, San Francisco Giants, yo, you want Rafi?" The thing is, Devers won't even play third for the Giants. He's going to probably be being DH. Like, the third baseman is Matt Chapman, who is an elite defender. So he's not even going to play third. But apparently he's going to return back to the field. So where would he play? Maybe first? I think that's the only play that he would play. But the Giants, clearly, they got the way they won this trade. They gave up basically nothing for him. And the Giants, they've had a really good season because they've been in mediocrity for the past few years. And they spent some money. Willie Adames, Jung-Ho Lee, they spent some money. And they've been wanting to spend money for the past few seasons. And they're competing with the Dodgers right now for this division. NL West is so top heavy. So whoever's going to win that division, it's going to be crazy to see, in my opinion. It's going to be a lot crazy to see. So, going back to what I said, Mookie Betts, he was traded for like chump change. He was traded for what we think now is chump change. He was traded for Verdugo, Jeter Downs, and Connor Wong, and those players have not been what the value of what Mookie Betts should have been. Chris Sale was literally traded for Vaughn Grisham, and then the next season he has a Cy Young, and then Mookie Betts the following season he gets traded from the Red Sox, went to the World Series, and we'll see right now with Devers. So, obviously the Boston's trade packages for these guys, what they've gotten back hasn't been that great. But I think the trade was because the relationship was fractured. I think what they got back was horrible, but it was because the relationship with Devers and management was clearly fractured. Clearly. Moving on to the final segment of the show, the top 5 of the week. I do this, especially we're now in finals month. I think these are the top 5, my favorite finals performances in the last 25 years. So I'm going to start off with number 5. I'm going to go with Steph Curry in 2022. That was a masterful performance from game 1 to game 6. I mean, obviously he had one game where he didn't even hit a 3, but the highlight of that series was his game 4 masterpiece. 43 on the road in Boston, hostile environment, down 2-1, and to tie the series really saved their championship hopes. And the reason why they won that championship is because that game 4 performance is what really why they won. Moving on to number 4. Number 4, I'm going to have to go Dirk in 2011. I think this is one of the greatest final performances I've ever seen. Clear upset. In the fourth quarter, he was money. He couldn't miss, and he was scoring at will. And took down a Heat super team, their first finals appearance with that big 3. And here comes Lolo, Dirk, and Dallas with Rick Carlisle. And Dirk tore their ass up. And it was a clear upset. And that performance, he basically beat that team by himself. To number 3, I'm going to go Giannis in 2021. That was also one of the greatest finals performances I've ever seen. He averaged like 35, 11, and 5. Closeout game to win a championship. He scored 50 points. One of the greatest closeout games I've ever seen and will ever see. He scored 50 points in a closeout game. Like it was like 50, 15, and like 5. And he had like, in that series, he had a bunch of blocks, a bunch of 40-point games. He was ridiculous from game 1 to game 6, and they were down 2-0, and they won 4 straight because he was ridiculous. Chris Middleton was also ridiculous too. He had a 40-point game as well. I saw on Twitter that it was, do you remember this Chris Middleton game? I do remember when he scored 40. I gotta go 2000. I wasn't alive when this happened. Shaq's 2000 against the Pacers when he was basically unguardable. When he averaged 38 and 16. And their first championship in that three-peat when he averaged damn near 40. And the last one isn't even really a debate. LeBron 2016 down 3-1 puts up 3 of the greatest games you'll ever see. I had 2 40-point performances, and then in Game 7 had a triple-double in the greatest defensive play in NBA history. No disputing that. Also up against the best record of all time, the 7-3-9 team, the Warriors team, beat them 3 straight times, down 3-1. Greatest comeback of all time from the greatest player of all time. And that's going to do it for today's show, season 2. Can't wait to keep doing this. We'll be here all summer. Please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to follow the show on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review, like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.